British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has called on Russian President Vladimir Putin to de-escalate the conflict in Ukraine. This is a very, very dangerous, difficult situation. We are on the verge of the abyss, but President Putin can still step down from that, Johnson told journalists on Monday during a visit to the village of Rosyth in Scotland. Johnson also called for an immediate end to the fiercely disputed Nord Stream 2 Baltic Sea pipeline and said all European countries must find alternative energy sources to be less dependent on Russia. He again threatened Moscow with very, very serious economic consequences in the event of an invasion of Ukraine. The US government warns that such an attack could be imminent. Johnson cut short a planned visit to Scotland and the north of England to return to Downing Street that evening. In the course of the week, the Conservative politician wants to travel to the Eastern European crisis region again for talks. Former US President Donald Trump has to look for new accountants. The company that had previously taken care of the accounts of the Trump Organization gave up. At the same time, they issued a warning. The Trump Organization, the former US president's corporate conglomerate, is having problems with its accounting firm. According to US media reports, the internationally renowned auditing company Massacres has parted ways with Trump's company. A conflict of interest is given as the reason. At the same time, the company warned that financial reports for the past 10 years cannot be trusted. We have come to this conclusion based in parts on filings filed by the New York Attorney General on January 18th, our own investigation, and information from internal and external sources, Massacres said in a letter. The New York Attorney General's office began official investigations into Donald Trump's company in January 2022. Prosecutor Letitia James is investigating allegations that the Trump Organization and the former president himself misstated the value of his assets in financial statements, tax returns, and other documents, and made material misrepresentations to third parties to secure credit, insurance coverage, and other economic and tax benefits, according to court documents. The accounting firm now advised Trump's firm to inform its lenders and insurers not to rely on the statements made so far. That in turn can make it difficult for Trump to get new credit. Among other things, the Trump company had used the auditors' reports to obtain new loans. That's a common procedure. Now, however, Massacres warns, overall, no discrepancy was found between the stated and actual assets. The special circumstances, apparently referring to the investigations, made it necessary to inform lenders, the New York Times quotes a press release as saying. Ultimately, it means that any record of financial status over the past 10 years could be inaccurate. The Trump Organization was disappointed with the auditor's decision, the New York Times quoted a statement from the company as saying. At the same time, they pointed out that the investigations by the Public Prosecutor's Office were superfluous. Statements by Putin's confidant Dmitry Kiselyov on Russian state television increase fears of an escalation in the Ukraine crisis. In a broadcast on Sunday evening, the head of the new state news agency Rossiya Sevodnina claimed that Russian nationalists in the Donbas region had tortured and massacred thousands of civilians and were preparing further massacres of Russian citizens. Kiselyov then showed an interview with a pro-Russian fighter in eastern Ukraine. In it, the man in combat fatigues claims that Ukrainian nationalists said they would come and slaughter the Russians in the region and hang them from power lines like the fascists. Kiselyov, who is considered Putin's mouthpiece and is on the air for 2 hours every Sunday, has not yet made such drastic statements about the current crisis. According to a report by the independent news portal The Moscow Times, Kiselyov has so far focused primarily on NATO's role in the Ukraine crisis and has repeatedly claimed that the conflict was engineered by the West to threaten Russia. US intelligence services have long warned that a Russian invasion of Ukraine would begin under the pretext of atrocities against Russian citizens. The annexation of Crimea by the Russian military in March 2014 was also accompanied by such reports. The threat of a Russian attack is growing, but the US and UK still believe a diplomatic solution is possible. Biden and Johnson warn that the de-escalation is needed and again threaten tough sanctions. Against the background of the crisis in Eastern Europe, US President Joe Biden has spoken to British Prime Minister Johnson on the phone. Biden and Johnson agreed that there is still a crucial window of opportunity for diplomacy. At least that was said by a British government spokesman. They called on Russia to de-escalate and again threaten Moscow with tough sanctions in the event of an attack on Ukraine. According to information from London, the Allies emphasized that diplomatic efforts to resolve the conflict continue to have top priority. The two leaders have also reiterated the need for European countries to reduce their dependence on Russian gas. Such a step would hit the core of Russia's strategic interests harder than any other measure. In view of the massive Russian troop deployment near the Ukrainian border, the West is increasingly preparing for a Russian invasion of the neighboring country. According to the United States, the Russian head of state Vladimir Putin has not yet made a final decision. However, Russia could attack the neighboring country with little or no warning, said Pentagon spokesman John Kirby. And French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian also said that in his opinion, all the elements for a Russian military offensive in Ukraine are in place. But there is no evidence that Putin has already made a decision, Le Drian told France 5. Meanwhile, the United States temporarily closed its embassy in the Ukrainian capital of Kiev on Monday. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the embassy activities would be temporarily relocated to the western Ukrainian city of Lviv, which is about 70 kilometers from the border with Poland. He justified the step with a dramatic acceleration of the Russian troop deployment on the border with Ukraine. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.